Secretary John Kirby is here. So, John, I watched your briefing, and I know a lot of people try to get you to say what you think Russia is doing. I'm not going to do that. I want to ask you, when we talk about more sanctions, how much more gas is in the tank? What have we held back? What else can we do?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the president here, but I think clearly there are additional economic levers that can be pulled, not just by the United States, but by the international community. And again, I won't get ahead of decisions here. We have already visited upon Mr. Putin very extreme economic consequences. His economy is in tatters. The ruble is worth almost nothing. And it's going to take a while for that to affect his war machine, to be sure. But it hasn't taken that long to affect his economic strength, and he knows that. And again, it's not just about the United States. It's about what other nations are willing to do economically.
John, let me play for you something that the Ukrainian foreign minister said about what the world, I guess, woke up to Saturday morning in Bucha.
Without an exaggeration, by what we've seen in Bucha and vicinity, we can conclude that Russia is worse than ISIS in the scale and the ruthlessness of the crimes committed.
I know from your briefing that we're still doing some of our own investigative work to corroborate what we've seen in Bucha, but if it is indeed confirmed that the Russia's committed these acts, would you agree with the assessment that it's worse than anything ISIS has carried out?
Certainly the reports of the size and scale, I think, certainly is worse than what we saw in terms of size and scale out of ISIS. Look, we have no reason to refute the Ukrainian allegations here of atrocities. We see the same evidence that you see, these devastating pictures, which are just sickening. And we have said, and said it for now more than a week, that we have evidence. We know that Russian forces are committing war crimes. It sadly looks like that's exactly what happened in Bucha, but to, again, on a size and scale and depravity that we haven't seen to date. So what's really important is that the international community, and that includes the United States, will continue to collect evidence, will continue to contribute to the investigative efforts, and to make sure that Russia is held properly accountable.
So U.S. journalists have been targeted and harmed. And killed. We've got tactics that are worse than ISIS. Tell me what else is on the table for us to do, either as a country or alongside our allies.
Well, aside from additional economic measures, which I think, are certainly going to be explored here, from the United States military perspective, we are going to, redouble our efforts, and we are, to make sure we can get security assistance, weapons, arms, ammunition, systems that the Ukrainians can use to defend themselves, to get them there as much as we can, as fast as we can. And just over the last couple of days, we helped coordinate the delivery of 6 other nations, 6 different shipments, 6 other nations, material getting into Ukraine, and there's more coming every day, including from the United States. Secretary Austin had a chance today to speak to the Ukrainian Minister of Defense, Minister Reznikov. The minister thanked Secretary Austin for the assistance that the United States has provided, noted how much and how fast it's getting there, and also made it clear that that material is getting into the hands of his fighters, and they are using it in the field every single day. So what we're going to do here is continue to help Ukraine defend itself against these kinds of depravities and war crimes. So,
John, I am not a military systems expert, and so questions like this may make you wince. But I have seen Charlie Wilson's War too many times to admit. Why can't we help the Ukrainians protect cities as well as they seem able to protect Kyiv? Why can't we give them the kinds of things that could prove to be more protective of the skies above them? Mariupol has been obliterated, annihilated, turned to dust, and that is where some of the most horrific and heinous atrocities against civilians and children are taking place. Why can't we give them whatever it is that makes Kyiv slightly more impenetrable for the Russians?
Well, Kyiv hasn't been completely impenetrable, Nicole. They have hit Kyiv very hard from the air. In fact, we still assess that even though their forces are withdrawing and moving away from Kyiv, that Kyiv could still and still is under the threat of long-range airstrikes, and the Russians continue to have that capability. They're also using it against Mariupol, against Kharkiv. They've used it in that town in the south called Mykolaiv. What we're seeing, though, is that the Russians are starting to limit their airstrikes to cities more to the east, because that's where they want to reprioritize. So what we're doing is continuing to flow in short and looking at potential long-range air defense systems that the Ukrainians are trained on, they know how to use. We're working with allies and partners who have additional systems like this that they can provide, and we're willing to help get them inside Ukraine. Again, Stingers, we have flown in thousands of, multiple hundreds of Stinger missiles into Ukraine that they're using very, very effectively. They're short-range air defense, but they know how to use them, and they're doing that quite well. That's going to continue going forward. So they are actually doing a good job of protecting their skies. In fact, the airspace over Ukraine remains contested, and largely that's because the Ukrainians have been able to be so nimble and so effective in protecting that airspace.
Igor Novikov is a former advisor to President Zelensky, who's on my program frequently, and he's sort of described or brought to life for our viewers the trajectory of what 6 weeks of living under constant threat of Russian bombardment is like for them. And it's his belief that it is a war meant to terrorize and exhaust the Ukrainians. What is our plan for coming in now that they are sufficiently terrorized and becoming exhausted? What is our plan to sort of amp up and fortify them?
Well, you've heard us talk about this now over the last few days. It's about getting them security assistance as much as we can, as fast as we can, including from other nations. So we're going to continue to do that. And I think you heard Jake Sullivan talk about this earlier today. Just Friday, we announced another $300 million in security assistance that we're going to now go out and procure on an expedited contracting basis to get inside Ukraine. And there could be additional security assistance that we announce in coming days. We're also, again, working with other allies, for instance, coastal defense missiles that the UK has now announced that they're going to do. I mean, we welcome that decision. And all of that is a result of consultations that we're having with allies and partners about trying to fill the needs that the Ukrainians have right now. And when we send things over, Nicole, we are prioritizing those weapons and those systems. Those are the things that are going on the first shipments, because we know that's what they need the most right now.
You field questions every day. I know you're very accessible. You're very good at your job. You've been at that podium through a lot of really painful, really ugly chapters in human history. I wonder if you can just talk about what you thought this weekend when you saw the first pictures out of Bucha.
I'm a grandfather, and I just I had the same reaction I think so many other people did. It turned my stomach. It turned my stomach.